Islam, Islam. Praise Allah. I honor each and every one of you. I honor the divine prophets. Praise Allah. Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Praise be to Allah. I honor the prophet. Islam. Happy Monday, y'all. Today is April 20th, 2026. Happy Monday. Hope y'all all had a great weekend. I hope y'all all had a great start to y'all week. Hope y'all was able to check out some of the shorts that I dropped over the weekend. I dropped a few shorts relating to some of my earlier videos. And praise be Allah, it was a good experience, you know. One of them shorts is about at 1,000 views, and then another one is almost near 1,000 views. So praise Allah, I appreciate the support from everybody. Everybody taking their time to tune in to the message. Praise be to Allah. If this is your first time here, glad you're here. Glad that our vibrations is matching and you found this video, you found this channel. Praise Allah. You know, when I say praise Allah, I'm saying thank God, you know, praise God. You know, some creator got a lot of different names, you know. I reference our creator, the Father, you know, the almighty creative power. Like, God got so many different names throughout history, you know. The one that I'm always saying more often than not is praise Allah. Again, that just means praise God, you know, the great God of the universe. So, you know, if you just now tuning in for your first time, what I do here is I'll read a chapter from the Holy Quran of More Science to America, divinely prepared by no prophet Drew Ali, by the God and his Father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of man back to I explain life with his Father, God Allah. So I'll read a chapter from this, and then after I get done reading the chapter in its entirety, I'll go back and I'll kind of reread it line by line, but that time give my understanding of the chapter. And this understanding is just my understanding. It's not the understanding of More Science to America. It's not the understanding of any other organization, I guess. This is purely my understanding that I got from Allah, from my personal study of the Holy Quran of More Science to America and of other, the Great Quran of Muhammad, the teachings of Buddha, Confucius, teachings of Jesus in the New Testament, you know, the understanding from the Old Testament, and just various different things I read throughout my time here on Earth so far. So today we're going to be reading from the Holy Quran of More Science to America. We're going to be on chapter 9. Before I get to that, I always like to give honors to the divine prophet, Prophet Nur Ali. That's a divine prophet. He was born in the state of North Carolina in 1886. He's a Moorish American because he's Sin Moroccans and born American. He taught me my nationality too as a Moorish American. So praise be to Allah. And he's a prophet for all of humanity. You know, the prophet came here to uplift all humanity, teach us about our higher self, our lower self, and to let us know about our Father God, and to let us know, you know, the 5 divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and the importance of always being that. Then here's the brother Sultan Abdul Abzi bin Saud, who at this time, when this pamphlet was published in 1927, was the head of Holy City of Mecca. Now, the last part of his name, S-A-U-D, Saud, that probably sounds familiar to a lot of y'all. And yes, it's related to Saudi Arabia, present day Saudi Arabia. So yes, he's like the father of present day Saudi Arabia. So praise be to Allah. Honors to those brothers over there. Honors to the Muslims over there. Honors to y'all from us Moorish American Muslims over here in the West. Praise be to Allah. And if this finds one of y'all, you know, praise Allah, leave me a message, and let's, you know, unite, get some understanding amongst ourselves, and figure out how we could continue to uplift all humanity and the understanding of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and our love for Allah. I'd like to turn your attention to the divine instruction of Holy Prophet, chapter 9. Jesus attends a feast in Behar, and here he taught human equality. fame of Jesus as a teacher spread through all the land, and people came from near and far to hear his words of truth. At Behar, on the sacred river of the Brahms, he taught for many days. And Ak, a wealthy man of Behar, made a feast in honor of his guests, and he invited everyone to come. And many came, among them thieves, extortioners, and courtesans, and Jesus sat with them and taught. But they who followed him were much grieved, because he sat with thieves and courtesans, and they upbraided him. They said, Rabboni, Master the wise, this day will be an evil day for you. The news will spread that you consort with courtesans, and men will shun you as they shun an asp. And Jesus answered them and said, a master never screens himself for the sake of reputation or fame. These are but worthless babbles of the day. They rise and sink, like empty bottles on a stream. They are illusions and will pass away. They are the indices to what the thoughtless think. They are noise that people make, and shallow men judge merit by the noise. Allah and all master men judge men by what they are, not what they seem to be, not by their reputation and their fame. These courtesans and thieves are children of my Father Allah. Their souls are just as precious in his sight as yours or the Brahmic priest. And they are working out the same life sums that you have solved, you men who look at them with scorn. And some of them have solved much harder than you have solved, you men who look at them with scorn. Yes, they are sinners and confess the guilt while you are guilty, but are shrewd enough to have a polished coat to cover up your guilt. Suppose you men who scorn the courtesan, these drunkards and these thieves, who know that you are pure in heart and life, that you are better far than they, stand forth that man may know just who you are. The sin lies in a wish, in a desire, not in the act. You covet other people's wealth. You look at charming forms, and deep within your heart you lust for them. Deceit you practice every day, and wish for gold, for honor, and for fame, just for your selfish selves. The man who covets is a thief, and she who lusts is a courtesan. You who are none of these speak out. Nobody spoke. The accusers held their peace. And Jesus said, the proof this day is all against those who have accused. The pure in heart do not accuse. The vile in heart who want to cover up the guilt with holy smoke of piety are ever-loading drunkards, thieves, and courtesans. This loathing and this scorn is mockery. For if the tinsel coat of reputation could be torn away, the loud professor will be found to revel in his lust, deceit, and many forms of secret sin. The man who spends his time in pulling other people's weeds can have no time in pulling his own. And all the choicest flowers of life will be choked and die, and nothing will remain but darnel, thistles, and burrs. And Jesus spoke a parable. He said, behold, a farmer had great fields of ripened grain, and when he looked, he saw that blades of many stalks of wheat were bent and broken down. And when he sent his reapers forth, he said, we will not save the stalks of wheat that have the broken blades. Go forth and cut and burn the stalks with broken blades. And after many days he went to measure up his grain, but not a kernel could he find. And then he called the harvesters and said to them, where is my grain? They answered him and said, we did according to your word. We gathered up and burned the stalks with broken blades, and not a stalk was left to carry to the barn. And Jesus said, if Allah saves only those who have unbroken blades, who have been perfected in his sight, who will be saved? And the accusers hung their heads in shame, and Jesus went his way. Praise be to Allah. That was chapter 9. Jesus attends a feast in Behar. Here he taught human equality. And that was from the Holy Crown of More Science to America. Praise be to Allah. Powerful chapter. Praise Allah. You know, if you've been here before, you know that, as I said, every chapter is a powerful chapter in the Holy Crown of More Science of America. Every chapter is important. Every chapter is a tool that you could use in the workshop of your mind in order to solve the problems that you're facing. Every chapter, every instruction, all of it is beneficial, depends on how much you look into it, the understanding that you'll get. Every chapter, every instruction is beneficial. Now, chapter 9, Jesus attends a feast in Behar. Here taught human equality. So we know from the previous chapters that we've been reading through that Jesus is in India. And again, Behar is a city on the western side of India, I'm pretty sure. And again, it's another esteemed city in terms of religion, academia, philosophy, art, etc. It's like a golden city in India. Get some time, you could look up Behar and learn about the history of Behar. I only know a little bit about the history of Behar, but I do know, it's a learned place. So at this point in time, we can't pinpoint how old Jesus is, exactly. He's probably somewhere before 18. He might be 15 years old, 16-year-old, maybe a little bit older at this point in time. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to tell, what age he is. But we know he's in the 12 to 18 range at this point in time. So here he is. It says, the fame of Jesus as a teacher spread through all the land, and people came from near and far to hear his words of truth. So he built a reputation, and people are coming from near and far to hear his words of truth. So when you speak the truth, people will find you. And that's a blessing because truth is all. Truth is the only thing that changes not. How we learn there are two things in truth and falsehood. Truth is like a light. You think about a lighthouse on the ocean, on the coast, like on the coast, like a lighthouse. The boats look for that lighthouse to be able to know where the coast is at, to orientate themselves, just as we look to the sun to orientate ourselves, or to the different stars to orientate ourselves, or even, we turn on the light in a dark room to orientate ourselves. And that's what the truth is like. When we accept the truth and we go looking for the truth shines bright like a light. Truth can't hide. It don't need to hide. Here's what it is. And the prophet was speaking the words of truth. People heard. Then it says at Behar, on the sacred river of the Brahms. So he's on the sacred river of the Brahms. In India, the rivers are very important to the Indian people. Praise be to Allah. It says he taught for many days. So he's there, teaching for many days. And Ak, a wealthy man of Behar, made a feast in honor of his guests and he invited everyone to come. So Ak, another princely type person, that was his city, Behar. He seen Jesus. He said he made a feast for him in honor of his guests. And he invited everyone to come. Everybody that was listening to Jesus' message, Jesus himself, he invited everyone to come. It says, and many came, among them thieves, extortioners, and courtesans. So these are people who are engaging in their lower self. A thief, somebody who is stealing. Extortioner, that could be somebody who says, if you don't give me $100 every month or a week or whatever, I'll hurt you. Like when you think of in the old mob movies, the mobster movies, like they'll go into a store and they'll destroy the store unless the store owner pays like a fee every month. That's extortion. And it don't got to be that way. People could nowadays do extortion with anything. They have your images. They could extort you for that. They could have, messages you sent them. They could extort you for that. Like a lot of things people could be extorted for. So again, that's forcing somebody to do something against their will, pretty much. Courtesans. Courtesans is prostitutes. Today's courtesans are people, on OnlyFans. That's like today's courtesans for today's example. And Jesus sat with them and taught. But they who followed him were much aggrieved, because he sat with thieves and courtesans, and they upbraided him. They said, Rabboni, Master wise, this day will be an evil day for you. So the people that Jesus, these people, Jesus still sat down and talked with them. He taught them about the higher self, the lower self, because he real, like, okay, I see where you at in life, but that don't mean you gotta be there forever. He didn't condemn them and say, oh, you're this, get away from me. You're never gonna learn anything, or I'm not gonna teach you anything because you're doing all this. He didn't say that. Jesus showing that love. But the people who followed him were much aggrieved. They were like, oh, Jesus, why you doing this? These people ain't no good. They ain't gonna do nothing. They evil people, they bad people. They saying all these things because he sat with thieves and courtesans. They upbraided him. So they was like, upbraided him like, this ain't no good for you. Like, them people ain't good enough to hear your message. Stuff like that. And then they even cursed him. They said, Rabboni, Master the wise, this day will be an evil day for you. So they was wishing evil on Jesus. And they're saying this day will be an evil day for you. That was words that came out their mouths. This is going to be an evil day for you. That's strange. That's weird. That's not normal. And they was close to Jesus. They was following Jesus. But look, went over their heads. They said, the news will spread that you can soar with courtesans, and men will shun you as they shun an ass. And they may have been right, the news was spread that Jesus was, talking to thieves and courtesans and extortioners. And men who, men being men, that was a possibility, But Jesus being who he is, said, and Jesus answered them and said, a master never screens himself for the sake of reputation or of fame. So he let them know right now, like, look, I'm a master. I'm not going to disregard these people just because they're in a perceived lower caste than me, or y'all perceive them as not being worth my time. And today's scenario is like, say somebody is a personal trainer and they done trained some people, got a good reputation about them. Then one day they go to the gym and they got a real obese person with them. And somebody run up being like, hey, people gonna say that, your clients don't look that good. Like, stuff like that, right? And it's like, they bringing that person up. That obese person went to the gym. They went to the gym for a reason. To lose weight, to get in better shape. So that'd be like a personal trainer not taking somebody because they're obese due to them wanting their clients to look a certain way. A master wouldn't do that, That's what Jesus is letting us know. It'd be like another example, like a teacher, like, oh, this person is stupid, they don't know nothing. You shouldn't teach them. Like, that's not the way to be about it, because if you like that, that's, not going to help fallen humanity. That's just going to limit, and like consolidate who knows stuff. So that's not the way to go. And the prophet let him know that. He said, these are but worthless babbles of the day. They rise and sink like empty bottles on a stream. Their illusions will pass away. So he's like, this is just what people gossip about. It's just gossip. It's here today, it's going to be gone tomorrow. You ever see like a bottle like floating on the stream? It'll pop up, then it get water and it go back under. Then that water it get out, then it pop back up, then get some more water in it and go back under. And it just continue on. And it's just an illusion. It's not the truth. Them people don't know why Jesus was talking to them. They just see the outside, like we read earlier. Just illusions, And that's what Jesus letting us know here. Just illusions. He said, there are indices to what the thoughtless think. There are noise that people make, and shallow men judge merit by the noise. So prophet letting us know, it's just indices. The gossip, a lot of people repeat things and don't even think about what they repeating. Like if that could even be true or not. They just, I heard this from so-and-so. And they just run with it. Not putting no thought into it. That's why the prophet said that's what the thoughtless think. There are noise that people make, and shallow men judge merit by the noise. So he's letting us know that shallow men judge merit by the noise. They don't really judge it by what it truly is. On if they just hype beasts, to say. They're just judging by the hype. They're not really looking into like really what it is. They just judging by, the outward. But it's more to it than that. Prophet says, Allah and all master men judge men by what they are and not what they seem to be. Not by the reputation and their fame. So Allah and all master people, all master humanity, all master men, judge men by what they are, not what they seem to be. It's like, example, say you see somebody that's real buff, right? And you might think that they're the strongest person in the world just based off appearances. But then, they get into a competition and come and find out, all the muscles they had was just for, show. They really wasn't strong, per se. And that's judging somebody by what they seem to be. Just because somebody looks strong don't mean they necessarily is strong. Just because somebody looks smart don't mean that they necessarily smart. You got to go and investigate. You just can't make that up off of just looking, right? You got to understand, really. And that's something for today because there's so much vanity on social media. There's so much stuff that you can see on Instagram, and it's just all illusion. These lessons was ringing true back then, and they even ring truer now just because of all the illusions that the common person got to deal with, that anybody got to deal with on a daily basis that's on social media. Like if you a dude, you seen a whole bunch of dudes on steroids. If you a female, you seen a whole bunch of women with plastic surgery and makeup on. So it's you may perceive these people a certain way, but then all that stuff gets stripped away. And what are they? Like I was saying with the example, you see a real buff person. They could look strong, but, they could be full of steroids. And say as soon as they get up off them steroids, they be, back to, not even being strong at all. So that's that illusion. That's why the prophet said, all master men judge men by what they are and not what they seem to be, not by the reputation and their fame. So what they really are. So really seeing a person for who they truly are. Not just, I heard this about that person. I heard that about that person. Taking the time to really find out who that person is. If that's a person you're trying to deal with, or that's a person that, you got to deal with type stuff. Understanding who that really is. Not letting how they seem to be what you think. Because we know the power of our thoughts. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with others and when you're dealing with yourself. Don't try to appear to be something that you ain't. It's going to take away more energy. It's going to tire you out. And at the end of the day, you're going to get people going to see you for what you really is anyways. So it's best just to really be who you say you are. Don't say you this and you that and then you this. it's best to just be what you truly are. Be yourself. Prophet tell us, be ourselves, be your higher self. Prophet said, these courtesans and thieves are children of my Father Allah. So again, today, these women, these men that do OnlyFans, people stealing, these are all children of our Father still, regardless of their chosen profession, right? And the Prophet says, their souls are just as precious in his sight as yours or the Brahmic priest, because everybody has potential. Everybody in every moment, at every point of their life, has potential to represent Allah. Nobody ever loses that God-given right. It's always in your God-given right to be like your Father, to be like Allah, to represent Allah, to be the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. No matter how far away from the path you think that you done went, you always got the choice. You always going to have the opportunity to be love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, to live life accordingly. And that's why the Prophet said, their souls are just as precious in his sight as yours or the Brahmic priest. Because the Brahmic priest, they could go ahead and they could be all this, but then behind closed doors, they could be doing this and that. That's worse than what the courtesan is doing. Courtesan, OnlyFans woman, it's a consensual more often than not. It's she giving up something and the dude is paying, or the dude giving up something and someone paying. It's consensual, right? More often than not. But then it be certain situations where you could think this person is this trustworthy person, and then they behind closed doors taken without consent. That's why the Prophet said their souls is just as precious in his sight as yours or the Brahmic priest. In reference to the courtesans and the thieves. Because everybody, got the potential to represent Allah. And those people who is supposed to represent Allah or God, they could do wrong. And they could try to hide it. So that's why the Prophet letting us know, you gotta have a deeper understanding of what's going on. And really study and observe and understand people and understand yourself. And the Prophet said, and they are working out the same life sentence that you have solved, you men who look at them with scorn. So he letting us know everybody got problems, right? And everybody trying to figure out their problems. I may have figured out a problem that you haven't figured out, and you may have figured out a problem that I haven't figured out. As the Prophet said, and some of them have solved much harder than you have solved. You men who look at them with scorn. Everybody got problems to solve. You don't know what problem this person is facing, and you don't know what solution that they is understanding that they got to do or use to get this problem solved. And that's why it's best to always treat everybody with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Because when we treat everybody with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, that's automatically helping them solve their problems. If you ever approach a situation with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, that's always going to help the situation get solved better and more efficiently every single time. Every single time. So the Prophet letting us know, just because it looked like they this and that, you don't know the whole story more often than not. Until you know the whole story, don't be passing judgment. Instead, pass love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. Like, I see them, and I hope they solving their problems best. That's the best thing that we could do. And if they come asking you questions like, hey, I got this problem. How can I solve it? You get them advice. You don't say, "Oh, you're not good enough to hear this," or "Oh no, you just a thief." I ain't talking to you like, "Oh no, you just a OnlyFans chick. I don't want nothing to do with you," type stuff. Like, if they come sincere and ask you questions like trying to uplift themselves, don't push them away. That's what Jesus is telling us. That's why he sat with the thieves and courtesans and the extortioners, because he didn't want them to keep on having to think that that was their only way. He wanted to show them that, it's more than that to life. It's other ways they can go, and he's letting them know, that Allah love you the same, and wants you to figure out your problems best using love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. He's giving them techniques. Some people just need one word from you, some little tip. Just like when you're doing a test, you might just need like one little hint, and then you can figure out the rest of the problem. But if the person who can give you the hint is acting stuck up and bougie and like, "Oh, I ain't helping you, like you ain't worth my time," that's wrong on their part. That's the prophet's telling us. He said, yes, they are sinners and confess their guilt while you are guilty, but are shrewd enough to have a polished coat to cover up guilt. That's self-explanatory, These people, yeah, they sinners. They say they sinning, like the OnlyFans chick. She ain't hiding that she an OnlyFans chick, but it might be some person in this position, and they doing stuff worse than an OnlyFans chick, harming people, doing acts that's not consensual onto somebody else. That's way worse than a OnlyFans woman getting a dude that is paying. That's way worse. That's like a consensual thing between two adults. The other ways, that's way worse. That's why the prophet said, and they confess the guilt while you are guilty, but are shrewd enough to have a polished coat to cover up your guilt. So that's like rich and powerful person, they got ways to cover up their guilt. They don't have to expose it, but that don't mean they ain't guilty. It's like if I had an invisibility cloak and I threw it on me and it wasn't bulletproof and somebody shot that mug, just because I'm invisible don't mean I ain't gonna get shot. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's what Prophet letting us know. Can't cover that up. Allah see it, and all master men really see it. And the Prophet said, suppose you men who scorn the courtesan, these drunkards and these thieves, who know that you are pure in heart and life, that you are better far than they, stand forth that man may know just who you are. So the Prophet like, hey, if you got it like that, come on. You don't need to hide. Come on. Come out. So everybody can know who they can ask to figure out these problems. Prophet is calling them out. He's calling them up. He said, hey, if you got it like that, come on. Don't be scared. Don't be shy. You could talk about them. Go ahead and let's see what you all about. Expose yourself all the way. Let's see. Prophet said, the sin lies in the wish, in the desire, not in the act. So he letting us know, in our thoughts, in our hearts, when we wish for something, when we got that deep desire for something, if it's not right, according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, that's already a sin. You ain't even got to act on it. If I see somebody walk, if I see, like, for example, I know a person is a married woman, right? And I see her and I think all these thoughts about her, like, that's a sin. It don't matter that I don't do nothing. It's a sin. That's what the prophet is letting us know here. He said, you covet other people's wealth. You look at charming forms and deep within your heart, you lust for them. So he's letting us know, you see other people's wealth, you see charming forms, and deep within your heart, you lust for them. He calling us out, right there. letting us know what it is. It said, deceit you practice every day and wish for gold, for honor, for fame, just for your selfish selves. Now, this is the problem. He's saying just for your selfish selves. You know, these people, they didn't want they didn't want the gold, the honor, the fame to uplift others and themselves. They only wanted it to uplift themselves and nobody else. You know, it said just for your selfish selves. So they wanted to keep on adding on more and more. Although they already got everything that they need. Now they was just trying to add on stuff that they didn't even need. And the prophet says, the man who covets is a thief, and she who lusts is a courtesan. You are none of these, speak out. And this is how powerful the prophet is. Because he was saying, even though I'm still here for all y'all. He ain't tell the rich man that was loading the poor person. He ain't tell the dude, the priest that was loading the drunkard. He ain't tell him to get out. He ain't tell him, no, you can't listen to this lesson. He let them sit right there too and get the lesson that they needed. He was indiscriminately teaching. He said, hey, all y'all doing this. The courtesan who say she is and the courtesan who say she ain't. Both y'all doing it. You know, the thief who say he is and the thief who say he ain't. The extortioner who say he is and the extortioner who say they ain't. All y'all. He's giving them all the lesson. He ain't kick nobody out the feast. He said, all y'all could get this lesson. I love y'all all. That's why I'm teaching it to everybody at this moment. He didn't say, oh, no, you know, you rich politician, you can't get this lesson. No, you need this lesson. Come and get it too. I love you just the same. Come and get this lesson too so that you don't keep on doing them ways that you've been doing. I'm here to teach you too. You ain't got to get out the function. You keep on learning too. He ain't kick nobody out. He called him out. He said, you who are none of these, speak out. He said, come on, come teach me. Come on and come teach with me. You who are none of these. Nobody spoke. The accusers held their peace. Because the accusers at that moment, if they was really wise, they realized that they was the same ones who they was accusing. That's how powerful the prophet is in his teachings. To the same ones who, like it said, you point a finger, you got 4 or whatever pointing back at you. The moment you point a finger at somebody, you got fingers pointing right back at you. And where they pointing from? From your own hand. Your own hand incriminates you once you start pointing fingers at people. Because more often than not, you just as guilty as them. Prophet said, and Jesus said, the proof this day is all against those who have accused. The pure in heart do not accuse. And that's like, you know, unfortunate situation like today, you know. A lot of women be having to do OnlyFans to support their children. It's sad, you know, because it's like, why ain't the fathers up in the picture or whatever happened? But that's why they doing that. They not accusing others, you know, calling people out saying they evil and all that. You know, the pure in heart, you know, not saying that, calling people out. You know, the prophet said, don't call people heart. Don't call people out. He said, the pure in heart do not accuse. And accusing is like false accusations, you know, saying this, saying that. You don't got no evidence. You just accusing, just saying this. You know, the prophet saying, don't do that. The pure in heart, don't do that. He said, the violent heart who want to cover up the guilt with holy smoke of piety, ever loading drunkards, thieves, and courtesans. So this is people who just is evil inside, who they just, you do this, you doing that, you all this, like they just trying to blame everybody else instead of looking at themselves and seeing where they messed up at. They think it's more beneficial to point out everybody else instead of pointing out themselves and saying, look, I mess up here, I mess up here, I mess up there, I mess up that. Like, instead of doing all that, they rather say, oh, you mess up there, you mess up that, you did that. And ain't nothing getting solved. Said, want to cover up their guilt with holy smoke of piety. So that's like saying, acting like they all holy, holier than thou, Like, oh, I don't. But yet, behold, they doing the same thing. They just covering it up. Because they got some resources. They could afford to cover it up, while somebody else who's doing it might not have the resource to be able to cover it up. They still both doing it. The Prophet said, this loathing and scorn is mockery. For if the tinsel coat of reputation could be torn away, the loud professor would be found to revel in his lust, deceit, and many forms of secret sin. So again, Prophet letting us know, this loathing and scorn is mockery. For if the tinsel coat of reputation could be torn away, so if all that could be torn away, all that resources that they take to hide the evilness that they do, like, if all that could be torn away, we see the worst of the worst. And we hear about this today in the news type stuff, like supposedly some people had emails and they were going to this place to do all these things. And, that was able to be hidden for so long because of the tinsel coat of reputation. But that got torn away. And now we see, the loud professor be found to revel in his lust. We got evidence of certain people saying that they did certain things with this person and that person at a certain point in time, incriminating themselves. They never thought them emails would get exposed. And again, them same people doing all that, they have to recognize that Allah views them in the same light as everybody else. And Allah is just waiting for them to change their ways, to embrace love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and to let go of the hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. And I praise Allah for the almightiness that Allah has bestowed and given for us to seek. And I thank Allah for that. So the Prophet said, the man who spends his time in pulling other people's weeds can have no time in pulling his own. And all the choicest flowers of life will be choked and die, and nothing remain but darnel, thistles, and burrs. So again, he's saying the man who spends his time in pulling other people's weeds can have no time in pulling his own. If you too busy worrying about somebody else's garden, your garden getting overgrown with weeds and things that's going to kill your garden. And that's your inner that the Prophet is talking about, the inner life. The heart. If your heart is so set, if your mind is so set on trying to call out other people, you can't pull off. You can't break down the bad thoughts. You can't break down the bad feelings, the bad vibrations that done stacked up in your own life because you're too worried about what's going on with somebody else. Prophet want us to turn that attention inward before you go and say, oh, this person is, like, for me, like, if I go and look and say, oh, this person is fat, right? I go look at a person and say, this person fat. No, I gotta look at myself. Like, yo, look at you. Like, why is you that in Aries? Why you got that chub up around your stomach, around your chest? What you doing wrong? Why you worried about what they looking like? You need to be worrying about what you looking like. And that's for everything in our life. It's not just physical. It's our inner life too. Why you thinking that way? What is it causing you think to that about that? All these different things, we got to look inward. And that takes a lot of energy. And think about, like, when you meditate, think about how your own body be wanting you to not meditate. You would start meditating. You would start getting deep into a thought. And all of a sudden, your hand just start itching like crazy. Or you just get a feeling to scratch your face. Or one that I don't recommend you do is meditate after you get out the shower, because sometimes I'll meditate after I get out the shower and I'm sitting there and a drip of water will end up in my ear. And you know how irksome and bothersome a drip of water is up in your ear? While you're meditating, you just want to stick your finger in there and just get that water up out of there. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how much attention and energy that we gotta use to correct our own ways. And like, if think about it like this, like if you ever did yard work and you haven't cut your own grass, you would not want to go and cut the whole city's grass before you could even cut your grass. You will be so tired by the time that you get to your own yard to do your own yard work. You will never do it. I say every time that you wanted to cut your grass, you had to go cut your whole block's grass and the whole next block grass. You had to go cut all their grass before you could cut your grass. Your grass will never get cut. And if it did get cut, it'd take you all day, because you had to do all them other yards first. You had to spend all that energy doing them other yards first, and then you had to come and do yours. That ain't, hey. Now, unless you own a business and your business is cutting grass, I do not suggest you do that. Because you're going to be tired. And that's what Prophet letting us know about that inner life. Now, don't spend your time thinking about why they do that. Why they doing this? Why they talk like that? Why they, all that? Why you like that? That's what you should think. Why am I doing this? Why did I do that? Spend all your energy focusing on you. Do that for the rest of your life and see the trajectory of your life just change for the better. That's why you got to be on guard. Like, you think about TV, media. It's entertaining, but a lot of it is directing your thought to be worrying about something else instead of be worrying about you. It's trying to get you to worry about something else that ain't coming back for you, that you getting no return on. So think about that. What are you investing your energy in? And what is it returning to you? Are you getting back only 5%? Are you getting back no percent? Are you getting back negative? Are you investing like me? Like, I was investing like 10, say I invested 10 hours of my time playing video games during the week. I wasn't getting nothing back from that but a dopamine hit in my brain, little bit of feel good, like competition. So max, say I was getting like 2%. Then like it dropped off like 1%. Then it dropped off 0%. Then it dropped off the negative percent. Cause like, that's what you gotta think about. What are you investing your energy into? And what is it returning back to you? If you invest in 10 hours, like if you invest 10 hours a week in the gym, not even that much. You just invest 3 hours in the gym and you make them meaningful hours. That's adding like a year of life to you. Like if you add 3 hours every week to the gym, that's going to add like 1 year of functional living to you every year. Like as long as you're taking care of the other things. Like if you study for just an hour a day, whatever you say, you got tests coming up, you just study for an hour a day. It's going to become the time for that test. And you're going to do really good on it. Because it stacks. But it also stacks in reverse too. So you got to really be paying attention. That's what the prophet called on us, when he said, the man who spends his time in pulling other people's weeds can have no time in pulling his own, and all the choice flowers of life will be choked and die, and nothing remain but thorny thistles and burrs. So you got to worry about keeping your choicest flower, your heart. Your heart is your choicest flower, your heart and your thoughts. Because your thoughts is seeds, and your heart is like the energy source for those seeds to grow off of. Now you got to keep all that clear. You can't let negative thoughts about yourself or others get up in the way that you gotta clear it out. The only way you can always be doing that is when you're only focusing on your own issues. Somebody come and say, hey, can you help me? You know, your neighbor might need your help in cutting the grass or doing some yard work for him. They coming and asking you. It's like it's a consensual. See? When you worrying about somebody else, that's non-consensual. That's that energy flow. Prophet is teaching us. Prophet goes on and says, and Jesus spoke a parable. He said, behold, a farmer had great fields of ripened grain, and when he looked, he saw that blades of many stalks of wheat were bent and broken down. I'm going to read this through. And when he sent his reapers forth, he said, we will not save the stalks of wheat that had the broken blades. Go forth and cut and burn the stalks with broken blades. So this man who had a field, he came and said, he looked at his field and it was ripened. You know, you see wheat turn bright yellow when it's ripe. Those are looking nice. You know, you live in the Midwest, you'll go down the road and you'll see, you know, when the harvest is ready. It's bright, right? So he seen that, but he saw also that many was bent and broken down. No, it is what it is. But this farmer, he said, we will not save the stalks of wheat that had broken blades. So he gave them like a super task. And he told him, go forth and cut and burn the stalks with broken blades. And think about that. Wheat grown out in the wild is birds that just, how easy wheat could be broken. Wheat could be sitting there like that, perfectly straight. A bird come and sit on it for 2 seconds, bing, and it break. That's how easy wheat, you know, like the harvest can be broken, like the stalks. Or a little bird just come and sit real quick and then it fly away. Just it pushing off the stalk. It pushing off breaks it. So this farmer said, we don't want that. No, he basically said, throw away the whole thing. And when he sent forth his reapers, he said, we will not save the stalks of wheat that had the broken blades. Go forth and cut and burn the stalks with broken blades. So he gave them a command. And what they did his command. And said, after many days he went to measure up his grain, but not a kernel could he find. And then he called the harvesters and said to them, where's my grain? They answered him and said, we did according to your word. We gathered up and burned the stalks with broken blades, and not a stalk was left to carry to the barn. So like I said, it's very easy for wheat, you know, to get broken blades. You know, it's very easy. If they're in an environment, a windstorm could come, break a whole thing down. Just because it broke down, you know. So they did what he said. And so they burnt it all. And Jesus said, if Allah saves only those who have unbroken blades, who have been perfected in his sight, will be saved. So basically calling out humanity, he like, hey, if Allah was to only save those who was perfect, who never sinned in their life, who never had a hateful thought, a lustful thought, a jealous thought, a slanderous thought, if you never had any of these things, you'll be saved. I know I wouldn't be saved. The prophet said, who will be saved? The only person in this whole room at that point in time that I would confidently say will be saved will be Jesus. He'd be the only one that'd be saved. So he letting us know. Don't be like that. Don't be so quick to judge people and the things that they going through. I'm so quick to, you know, just show that love, you know, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and forgiveness. Somebody do you wrong, just work your best to forgive them. Do your best not to put yourself back into a situation where they could do you wrong again. But at the same time, after you get yourself free from that situation, don't ruminate, don't keep on going back to that situation. Like, oh, I hate that person because they did that to me or whatever. No, you gotta work your best to forgive. Let that go. Figure out where you was kind of in the wrong if it's possible. There's some situations where person just doing evilness to you and you not doing nothing wrong. And that is situations, And I pray for Allah to free all the people in situations like that. And for the people that's holding them in situations like that, I pray for Allah to wake up that love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice within them. Or for that person to wake up that love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and don't put them people in them situations no more. Because would you want to be in that situation? It's that simple. And people like, oh, well, I'm strong and I'm rich. What do you mean? Like, you could say that, right? But then you just talking like an animal. Different from a crocodile in the water. That thing, just because it's the biggest thing, that it got the right to eat everything else. Actually, a crocodile even got more sense than a person that think like that. Crocodile will stop up after it's full. So if a person like that listening, please open up your heart to that love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It will fulfill you more than anything that you could be doing wrong to somebody else. Because at the end of the day, you still got to answer for that in your heart. No matter what you do, you still have to answer for that. No matter what training that you think you could go through that's going to make you be callous and not care about somebody else's feelings, all this other stuff, it's still going to happen to you. You could come across that one person or you just realize that all that you did, it was a better way. If you would just went with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So again, the prophet said, if Allah saves only those who have unbroken blades, who have been perfected in his sight, who will be saved. And the accusers hung their heads in shame, and Jesus went his way. Praise be to Allah. High honors to the prophet. High honors each and every one of you, because y'all are seeking after love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Y'all are listening to the Holy Crown of More Science to America. Listening to an understanding of the Holy Crown of More Science to America. And I call on each and every one of y'all to get y'all a copy of the Holy Crown of More Science to America and to read the Holy Crown of More Science to America and to get your own understanding, because when you read this, it causes you to think about situations in your life, and it causes you to think about future situations in your life that you might be in the fortitude, in the way that you need to be in those situations, or it allows you to think in a way that allows you to forgive those situations that you was in the past. Because when we act with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we're ensuring that we're going about it the right way, that we don't have to worry and have a conscience about did we do the right thing or not. We don't have to worry about having a bad feeling or not, because we know we did the right thing when you do it with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And that forgiveness, take the time at night when you lay down, forgive yourself for all the bad thoughts you thought about yourself. Forgive yourself for all the bad thoughts that you thought about other people. Forgive yourself for the bad things that people have done to you. Forgive the people that have done bad things to you. Because when you do that, you are letting go of that past event ability to keep on affecting your future and your present. Case Like, say, what happened to me before when I was younger. I was playing football and I broke my ankle, right? Just to let y'all know, whatever. Now, I could have held on to that event of me doing that, and it could have stopped me from playing football again, because I could have been so attached to what happened and worried and not forgiving that event for happening that I never, did sports again. That's just is a very base level understanding. Like, say you have a bad thought about yourself, you imagine your thoughts and things like you the mountain, and up here is like water, right? Now you have thoughts. Say you got a bad thought about something, about yourself, boom, it's a dam right there, blocking that water from coming down further, from going to the place that it needs to go. And the only way it's going to go to the place that it needs to go is if you remove that blockage. You take the time to clear those weeds out from your garden. You think about, your dreams. If you let your dreams get covered up with the weeds, they won't grow. It won't grow. They'll be getting choked out. You have to direct that thought onto yourself, and that's a part of forgiveness. You can't keep on telling yourself that you're not this and you're not that, and then expect to become this or that. If you is in school and you're trying to be smart and learn and get good grades, but you always telling yourself you're dumb, you working in two different directions. You're not clearing the weeds from your garden. You actually planting more. Or say you take a test one day and you fail it, and you just hold on to that failed test for the rest of your life, you're going to keep on failing tests because that's what you think you're supposed to do, because you won't release that past event. Like, you got to look at what happened in the past. You got to learn from it and got to let it go up after that point. Like, if you're going on a journey, you got something you carrying on your back, and you look in the backpack and it's full of things that you don't need no more. It'd be like, say you walk in and you got to go through a big building, and each building has, the building has a whole bunch of doors in it, right? So you get to there, you got 100 keys in your backpack, and each key is £1, right? You go through that first door, you open up the door with the one key that was needed for that door. You open it and you throw it back in your backpack. And then you go on to the next door. At the end of the doors, you still carrying that 100-pound backpack. While the other person open up the door with the key, throw the key away because they don't need it no more. They moving quicker. They gonna open up more doors quicker because they don't got that 100-pound backpack. So forgive yourself. And forgiveness, you can't forgive if you busy judging somebody else. So again, praise be to Allah. Prophet letting us know a lot up in this chapter. Chapter 9, Jesus tends a feast in Behar, and he taught human equality. Again, praise Allah. Honors to each and every one of you. Praise be to Allah. Honors to the Prophet. And I hope that y'all have a good rest of y'all week. And I'll be back again tomorrow, Allah willing, with another video. We'll be doing chapter 10. Jesus spake on the unity of Allah and man to the Hindus. Praise be to Allah. Honors to y'all. Love to y'all. Peace on earth. Goodwill to men. Peace.